Finland just bought the missile Ukraine used to down Russia's best helicopter and an Su-24 just for funsies. And Russia's jamming didn't help. Most manpads chase heat. They lock onto the infrared signature of an aircraft engine, they launch, they guide themselves toward whatever's hottest in the sky. Good thing I wasn't flying that day, because I'd be the hottest thing in the sky. Russia's Ka-52 attack helicopter knows its heat is the problem. Its Vitebsk electronic warfare suite was designed specifically to defeat infrared missiles. Flares, jamming, countermeasures, built to make a heat-seeking missile chase the wrong thing and miss. But on August 17, 2023, near the village of Robotine in southern Ukraine, a soldier from the 47th Mechanized Brigade fired a Swedish RBS 70 at a Ka-52. The Vitebsk suite activated, the countermeasures ran, the Ka-52 came down anyway, because the RBS 70 doesn't chase heat. It follows a laser that the operator points. Russia's most sophisticated helicopter jamming system was built to defeat a guidance architecture the RBS 70 doesn't use. Finland just ordered 108 million euros worth of the upgraded version. And given that Finland shares an 830-mile border with the country that built the Ka-52, well, the timing makes complete sense. Hey friends, Wes here, defense journalist, Army and Air Force veteran, and someone who has spent enough time in Nordic defense coverage to know that when Finland buys a weapon system, it's doing it for a very specific reason. Today, we're covering the RBS-70NG, Finland's new contract with Saab, and why the combat record Ukraine built with this system is directly relevant to the threat Finland is now officially preparing for. Defense Express broke the procurement story, and it's worth taking seriously. Here's what makes this purchase different from a standard procurement announcement. The conventional wisdom on manpads is that the technology is a constant arms race between seeker and countermeasure. Missiles chase heat, aircraft deploys flares, missiles get confused, so you build a better seeker that's harder to confuse. Well, the aircraft then builds better flares, back and forth, generation after generation. Now, that race has been running since the 1970s, and every military on Earth has participated in it. But the RBS-70 exited that race entirely. It doesn't have an infrared seeker. There's no heat-seeking logic to confuse, no flare to chase, no jamming frequency to target. The missile follows a laser beam projected by the operator, and the only way to break that guidance is to break the operator's line of sight. Russia's Ka-52 doesn't have a system for that, because until recently nobody thought a manpad would be accurate enough at range to make laser guidance work against fast movers and attack helicopters. Well, Britain's Starstreak and its Martlet companion missile both use the same laser beam riding architecture, and both built kill records in Ukraine for the same reason. Russia's countermeasures were designed to defeat a guidance type neither of them uses. Finland, which has spent 80 years thinking seriously about what it means to share a border with Russia, took one look at that body of evidence and wrote a check. Ukraine changed that assumption over a river crossing in Zaporizhia in 2023. Let me walk you through the system because the guidance mechanism is the whole story, and it's genuinely unusual. The RBS-70NG is a man-portable air defense system developed by Sweden's Saab. It's been in service in various forms since 1977, making it one of the longest-running manpad programs in history. And the reason it keeps getting bought is that its core innovation, laser beam riding guidance, has aged better than almost any other short-range air defense concept in Western inventory. Here's how it works. The operator acquires the target through a sight that, in the NG variant, includes a digital display and a built-in thermal imager for day and night operation. When the trigger is pulled, the missile launches cold, meaning the rocket motor ignites at a safe distance from the operator rather than in the tube. The missile then locates the laser beam being projected toward the target by the firing unit and rides that beam to the intercept. As long as the operator holds the sight on the target, the missile follows. It's almost like an updated version of the TOW missile's wire guidance. Automatic target tracking in the NG variant reduces the operator workload during the terminal phase. The range is over 9 kilometers. Altitude coverage from ground level to about 5,000 meters. Speed exceeds Mach 2. deployment from carry to ready in about 45 seconds, reload after firing under 5 seconds. Because the missile doesn't home on infrared radiation and doesn't depend on radar illumination during the terminal phase, the advantage is resistance to common aircraft self-protection measures like flares and a whole bunch of forms of radio frequency jamming. That's a physics constraint. There is no seeker to spoof. The missile is following a geometric path defined by where the operator is pointing. The aircraft can deploy every countermeasure in its inventory, and the guidance logic doesn't care, because the guidance logic isn't interacting with the aircraft at all. In other words, the RBS-70 doesn't give a f***. So Ukraine received the RBS-70 system in April 2023. The first confirmed combat use came 4 months later. Fighters of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade effectively used a Swedish RBS-70 manpad system and destroyed a Russian Ka-52 attack helicopter near the village of Rabotene in the Zaporizhia region. It was the first visual confirmation of the system in combat, firing a Swedish-made Saab RBS-70 laser-guided missile. 47th Brigade troopers shot down a Ka-52, reportedly killing one of the two crew. And the 47th Brigade had personal history with the Ka-52s. When they launched their portion of the 2023 counteroffensive on June 8th, Russian helicopters had been waiting for them. The brigade took serious losses that night to air attack. The Rabotene kill was the brigade getting even with the weapon that had hurt them, and doing it with a system that Ka-52's countermeasures couldn't touch. So Ka-52s frequently fly in mixed formations with heavier Mi-28s, which do have radar jammers, but the overlapping countermeasures don't always work, especially against the RBS-70. The operator on the ground can use manual control at any time after launch and then change the target point. That manual override capability matters more than it might sound. If the system detects any interference with guidance, the operator can take direct control mid-flight and steer the missile manually. There's no scenario where the aircraft jams its way to safety. The operator has the final word. The combat record didn't stop at one Ka-52 though. On December 6, 2023, the Ukrainian Air Force shot down one Russian Su-24 in Odessa Oblast using an RBS-70. Also, on October 25, 2023, the 25th Airborne Brigade shot down an Mi-8 helicopter in the Luhansk region using an RBS-70 missile. And the system has demonstrated capability against Russian reconnaissance drones throughout 2023 and 2024, extending its relevance beyond the original attack helicopter mission. So the RBS-70 built a combat resume that most Western manpad systems only have in manufacturer test data. Ukraine gave it a live range against a live adversary, and the results were documented. Finland isn't starting from zero on the RBS-70. The Finnish army already operates the base variant under the designation ITO-05M, having signed its first RBS-70 contract way back in 2007, and an expansion in 2010. The new €108 million contract, as reported by Finnish military magazine Reserviläinen and confirmed by Defense Express, upgrades Finland to the NG standard, adding the digital sight, the thermal imager, and the automatic target tracking, and the extended 9-kilometer engagement range. The contract also includes training equipment and maintenance support. Full combat capabilities planned by the end of this decade, which is a 4-year timeline. What accounts for that duration isn't specified publicly, but integrating new optics, new fire control software, new training pipelines for existing crews, and new logistics chains across an entire branch of a national military takes real time even when everyone's motivated. Now, Finland joined NATO in April of 2023. Its air defense is now integrated into alliance architecture, and the RBS-70 NG fits into that picture as a very short-range layer that can be distributed across Finnish territory without massive infrastructure requirements. Its value is in distributed denial, forcing Russian helicopters, reconnaissance drones, and low-flying aircraft to account for more firing points across a wider area, because the RBS-70 NG can be fired without seeker cooldown or pre-launch target lock-on, and can lock on after launch. Crews can remain concealed until a target is assigned or visually detected. Finland's terrain makes that distributed denial model particularly relevant. Dense forests, thousands of lakes, narrow road networks, any Russian air operation over Finnish territory would have to contend with a threat that's mobile, concealable, deployable in 45 seconds, and impossible to defeat with the standard helicopter countermeasures Russia has spent decades developing. One more piece worth covering because the timing aligns precisely with Finland's purchase. In May of 2026, Saab officially launched the Bolide 2, the newest missile generation for the RBS 70 family. The updated missile received a larger warhead, 50% more explosive, and 40% more 3mm tungsten striking elements, a modernized inertial navigation system, and a modular architecture, allowing further upgrades to be carried out faster and more efficiently. The tungsten detail, though, matters a bit. More tungsten striking elements means a larger fragment cloud on detonation, which improves the probability of a kill against small, fast, or maneuvering targets. Drones, specifically. As anyone who has been following Ukraine's war knows, the threat isn't only helicopters and jets anymore, it's Shaheds, Lancets, reconnaissance drones, and loitering munitions at every altitude from ground level to several kilometers. The Bolide 2 warhead design addresses that expanded threat directly. The modular architecture means future upgrades don't require replacing the entire missile. You just change the relevant subsystem. And that's an industrial and logistical advantage that matters when you're trying to keep a manpad family relevant through multiple generations of evolving aerial threats. So here's the logic that makes this purchase interesting beyond the hardware specifications. Finland's decision to upgrade the RBS 70 is an expression of procurement philosophy that's spreading through Nordic and Baltic defense establishments. Buy things that have already been tested against the specific adversary you're preparing for, with the specific countermeasures that adversary deploys, in combat conditions rather than exercise conditions. Ukraine provided Finland a live evaluation of the RBS 70 against Russian attack helicopters and electronic warfare. The result was confirmed kills. The system's laser guidance defeated jamming specifically designed to protect Russia's most advanced rotary wing platforms. Finland, which has spent 80 years thinking seriously about what it means to share a border with Russia, took one look at that data and wrote that check. That's not sentimentality, that's sound procurement logic. When you know exactly which country you're defending against, and that country has already fought a war against the weapon system you're evaluating, you use the combat data. Well, Finland used the combat data. The RBS 70 NG solved a very specific problem Ukraine faced, defeating Russian attack helicopters and some fixed-wing aircraft at short range with a system that couldn't be jammed by the countermeasures those aircraft carry. And it solved that problem well. Russia adapted. Ka-52s operating in Ukraine have increasingly relied on standoff munitions at ranges that keep them outside man-pad engagement envelopes. So Finland buying this system doesn't mean that Finnish crews will have easy engagements. It just means they'll have a capable tool for the engagements that are achievable. Air defense is always a layered problem. The RBS 70 NG fills one layer. Finland still needs everything above it, but they're getting there. That is it for today, my friends. If this was useful, please like and subscribe. I cover NATO defense and Ukraine's battlefield technology 4 times a week, and I have a fondness for the Nordics. In fact, it's almost Fika time. For deeper analysis, I'm on Substack, where the longer analytical pieces are. QR codes on the screen or just wesodonald.com. And as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.